Yotsup, how old are
Yeah,
you?
25.
Do you support Trump?
Yeah, but nobody's
Okay.
dog walking you, so I had to come up.
Okay. If the election was held today, Harris versus Trump, who would you rather vote for?
Shit, that's a hard one. Probably Trump.
Okay. Alrighty. Harold, thank you so much for the $20. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's really funny, Harold. Deb, thank you so much. I really appreciate the $5. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That guy is insane, right? Alrighty,
Hey,
alrighty.
before everybody starts saying it, I am not from Toronto. I just put that on my bio so that way, who puts their actual location on their Instagram.
Okay, alright. Why do you support Trump? Why do you support the most horrible candidate for president in the modern era?
I just didn't really like Harris's policies that she was implementing.
Can you name one specific policy that you disagree with her on?
Yeah, she wasn't for like fracking. She was. That's just one. She wasn't for like energy independency here in the United States.
Did you know the Inflation Reduction Act built up renewable energy infrastructure within this country to make us more energy independent and also had fracking leases within it? So she was willing to compromise on fracking in order to be able to get renewable energy policy passed in the first place. So, no, her policy under the Biden Harris administration did not completely ban fracking.
Okay. Okay. Uh, um. Yeah, I just didn't really like the way that she answered questions. Like, when she was asked questions about like her views on stuff, she just couldn't really answer much of it.
Can you give me any specific examples, sir?
Yeah, I mean, like in the debates and stuff, or like when she wouldn't really do interviews, she didn't really many interviews. Whenever she was interviewed, she didn't really answer the questions. She would just kind of pivot over to like she was raised in a middle class family. She didn't really focus on like what she was going to do to better the economy, and I think that's why she lost, is because people really just were tired of seeing where the economy was going, and I think that's why Trump won.
Okay. So can you name one economic policy that she did advocate for?
I will give you that she was. I think her and Biden were trying to secure the border. I do think that did kind of block that because he wanted to run on the problem. I do agree with her on that.
I asked you
She obviously
economic
wanted to do
policy,
a
sir.
couple things. Say it again. Sorry, it was
E-
lagging.
Economic policy?
Didn't she want to do like a child tax credit or something like that?
Yeah, she did want to expand the child tax credit. So
Yeah.
she advocated to expand it to $6,000 for the
And
first
Trump
year of
did
a
too,
child's
though,
life,
right?
3,600 through them being 5 years old, 3,000 through them being 18. She advocated for a $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers for new homes, a $2,000 cap on pharmaceuticals out of pocket for everyone, a $35 cap per month on insulin for everyone. She also advocated for wanting to address corporate greed, and wanting to limit like huge corporations from being able to buy single family homes. We can point to the fact that she advocated to expand access to healthcare through the context of a universal healthcare system, a public option that
Mhm.
other countries around the world have adopted, and they spend nearly half as much per person and have better average health outcomes.
Okay.
So she
I
talked
mean,
a lot
wasn't
about
Trump also
policies
about?
economically. Like, can you name how Trump is better economically?
Well, I mean, it's just something like, for example, like when Trump said he was going to like cut tax on tips and overtime and stuff like that, and then she was all in favor of that. It just seemed like she was kind of just kind of copying what he was in favor of.
No, it just sounds like she heard something she agreed with and said that she agreed with it. That sounds like she's
Well,
nonpartisan then.
yeah, well, when she said that she was going to do a child tax credit, Trump shook his head yes as well. Like he also agreed with that.
Wait, but he doesn't want to do as much of a child tax credit. And by the way, I want to clarify the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime deduction, not even no tax on those overall, was something that Bernie advocated for prior than Trump. So did Bernie steal it, or did Trump steal it from Bernie?
Well, no, I would have rather had Bernie over Kamala,
Wait, but did Trump steal it
but
from Bernie?
no, no, he just agreed with something that Bernie said.
Oh, so now it's just that you agree with
No,
something that
I'm
Bernie
just
said.
saying. No, I'm just saying
So do you
though.
see how the reasoning changes as soon as it's Trump and not Kamala Harris that you're referencing?
No, I was just saying that because I know you said that. So I do agree
Okay,
that
but
he
you
has some
then you do agree
ideals.
then.
Sure,
Okay.
I just don't really align with a lot of her policies. Like I just couldn't see myself voting for someone like that. Like I'm not saying that Trump's perfect. I don't like Trump as a person. You know, I think he's bigoted. I just don't align with her policies.
Okay, but
That's
like, what
it.
policies do you not align with?
Well, because I don't want to piss off half of your audience. But you know, just everything. You know, just women in sports. You know, and men and women sports, and just everything. I just don't really agree with all of that. Too much government. You know, just too much stuff. And you know, I think it's good that he. Well, I better be careful. I'm not even going to go there.
Ironic that
Is
you
it
say
all?
too much government and then advocate for the government to determine whether or not a local sports organization can allow trans people to play or not.
Yeah,
That
because I
sounds like
think the
big
people
government.
that in the states, I think they should be able to vote on that, not the federal government. Just like
So
abortion.
so that's again too much state government. So you think a state government should be able to restrict a local sports organization from allowing trans people to
No, no,
play?
no, no. I'm saying I think that the state government, I think the people of the state that they're actually living in should be able to vote for policies that are being implemented in the state instead of the federal government. That's like
Again,
what, like with APs.
again, one, you're advocating for this within the context of a federal government policy debate because we're talking about which executive person that we'd want in the position of the presidency. So you all are
The
talking about
people,
federal policy when referencing this. Let's say we left it up to the states. Again, would you advocate for a state to be able to restrict local sports
because the
organizations
people are
from a?
voting for
Let me
their
please
local
finish my point.
politician.
Would
Sure,
you advocate for a
sure. I
state?
apologize.
Would you advocate for a state government to be able to restrict people from local sports organizations from allowing trans people to play?
No, I would not.
Okay, so then you disagree with all of those laws. So,
Because it's the people that live there.
okay,
I
all
don't want it
right.
to happen in my state.
So you would be okay within your state government restricting sports organizations from allowing trans people to play.
Yes.
Okay, what would you like them to do? Fines, prison time? How do you
No,
enforce
I don't think they
that
should be in
these rules
prison.
are
I
kept in
don't think.
place?
No, I don't think that they should be imprisoned for something like that. But I think that
Fined?
they should be allowed.
Okay, by fine, but we should fine them. We should arrest them if they're not doing the right thing, under your view.
Yeah, like same thing. If you run a red light or you know you speed, you're going to get a ticket, right?
So
You're not
so
allowed to
people
do
should
those
get
things.
ticketed for allowing trans people to play.
No, they're not going to get ticketed. I'm just giving you an example. They're not going to go to jail for speeding unless they're freaking 120 mile an hour.
So to
I'm
clarify,
just saying that
if you're a sports organization that allows trans people to play, then you're saying that that sports organization should get fined?
if it's against the law,
Wait, do you think it should be against the law?
if the people vote for it,
Do you think people should vote for it?
it's up to them. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No, I don't think it's an
Okay.
advantage.
So to
I
clarify
think
real
it's too
quick,
much of a
you don't advocate for any law or like forcing sports organizations to act a certain way and whether or not they allow or don't allow trans people in their sports. So then when you say you don't want quote unquote men and women sports, that's just some virtue signaling nonsense point. That's not even relevant to the
How?
debate we're talking about
How?
because
How? If
you're
I
not
don't agree with
advocating
it,
for governmental laws to restrict it from happening. You're not advocating for
I
federal
am.
policy. You're not even advocating for state policy. So like how
I'm not.
what even is
I'm
the
not
relevance
asking
of
for
saying
federal
that?
law. Federal law is what I'm saying. I'm not in favor of federal law.
Yeah,
I'm okay
you said
with
you disagree with
the
state
state
law as
law.
well. I asked you specifically about
No,
the
no, I'm
state.
okay with state law if people vote for it.
I'm
If people
asking,
vote for it, I'm
I
okay with
asked you if
that.
you would vote for it. You said no.
Yeah, I would vote. I would vote against it. Yes,
Okay, so you'd vote against a law that restricts
I would vote. No, I would vote. I no, no. I'm saying I would vote for in favor of banning men and women sports
Okay, so
in
here we
my
go.
state.
So let me clarify. So in your state, you would be in support of your state government legally fining individuals, right, who allowed for trans people to play within their local sports organizations.
Say that again.
You would fine the local sports organizations every time they allow a trans person to play.
Yeah, if they're breaking state law, that's what happens.
Okay, so how much do you think the fine should be?
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what the fine should be. I'm not the one in charge of that policy.
Would you?
Obviously, they shouldn't be able to. If the people vote for it,
That's a sick thing to
why?
argue for, is that people should be fined, right? Because that's big government. That's too much government right there.
Okay, so
You're
why do
talking about
so
fining individuals simply for allowing trans people to play in local sports organizations.
Tell that to the NCAA. They're the ones that make the rules.
Yeah, those are the local sports organizations. You'd be okay with the state government forcing the NCAA to abide by their policy, the state's policy, instead of literally the NCAA policy.
Why do you think in the first place there's women's sports and men's sports? Why do you think that?
I think
Why
that's
can't we go back to
designated.
that?
I think that's designated by local sports organizations for them wanting to address conditions of fairness. But
So you don't think that?
what you're not
Sorry, go ahead.
understanding is that's determined by local sports organizations, not determined by the federal government, not determined by the state government. That is determined by local sports organizations because there's also local sports organizations where people play co-ed. There's also local sports organizations that have different rules. You have to understand the sports organizations that exist, right, are going to be the ones that define how they operate for who gets to play within that sports organization, and it shouldn't be the federal government, right? It makes no
But
fucking
here's the
sense.
thing: you realize that these policies, these things that are going on, and I hate to say it, but someone commented saying, this is where is the political point in this? This is the kind of things that the people voted against, that people voted in the last election. They just don't want this stuff happening. This is not something that is like top tier problematic in the country, but this is just one of the things that are going on that people just don't want involved in. And if you would have said 15, 20 years ago, this stuff wasn't happening. It wasn't happening.
Okay, so trans people were playing in the
It
past. You
didn't
just didn't
happen.
know about it
So why is it? So why is it
because
now all of a
Republicans are making a
sudden?
big deal about it right now in order to distract away from all the evils of the Trump administration. Because it's used as fear mongering and propaganda, and it's an effective tool for getting you to stop worrying about the fact that Donald Trump is giving tax cuts to his rich buddies. He's starting a war with Iran. He's not releasing the Epstein files, right? And violating so many of his promises, right? And it's getting you riled up to be against Democrats in every single scenario, no matter what, because you've been fear mongered into believing that Democrats don't want the best for this country. How many trans people are playing in the NCAA?
I don't know, probably under 3%.
16, less than 16, okay? Less than 16,
Yeah.
okay? Are
So
any of them dominating?
yeah.
No. Okay? So this whole argument is a fucking nonsense fear
Wasn't there
mongering that
one that
you have
won?
bought into instead of
Slimmer?
addressing the true 1% of the fucking country that you need to address that is not paying its fair share, less than 1% actually, right? The 0.1%, specifically billionaires,
Yeah.
that aren't paying their fair share.
Right. Right. Okay.
You're covering your
The
microphone.
reason is
You're covering your microphone.
sorry about that. Yeah. Another thing. I'm not. I'm just simply not.
You're simply not what?
I can turn my Wi-Fi off. I don't know why it's not doing.
You're fine now. Here, you
I
know.
wasn't covering the microphone.
You were
Another.
for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe you. I would say that
Alrighty,
that I just support.
oh, you're cutting out. Did you get Trump Mobile? Did you get the new Trump mobile phone?
I'm just going to turn my Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Yeah, no, I did have Trump Mobile, but it didn't work very well, so I got Verizon. Yeah, I would say that another reason would be definitely, with the border security and stuff. I think that the border. I don't think that the Democrats and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden per se just opened the borders, but I think that they weren't very strict on the border security until late in their term. It wasn't until like the third, like 3.5 years in, that they actually started to care about the border.
Wrong. Donald Trump undermined a bipartisan border bill in 2023. That would
Yeah,
have.
that's what I'm saying. 1 year before the election.
Wait, 2023 is a bit way before. That's like, and by the way, that they started working on that 6 months after Biden got in office. It takes
Well, I'm
time
saying
to
like
get
the
people to
election
negotiate
was
in
in
terms of Republicans and
2024.
Democrats to be able to get things passed, especially for unprecedented levels of immigration negotiation that we haven't had in 30 plus years.
But the election was in 2024. So if they were worried about it in 2023 and they
Wait, I just told
offered
you
a bipartisan
they were
bill, then
worried
why
about
did they just do it a year
they
in?
were worried about it 6 months after Trump or Biden's administration started. It just takes time to be able to get that legislation drafted and to get people both in the Republican and Democratic Party to support this. And they did. They had the votes. And Donald Trump called for people in Congress to undermine those votes so that they didn't get the bill passed because he cared more about running on the border being an issue than actually fixing the conditions at the border.
Okay, so Kamala Harris, they implemented this bipartisan border bill. I think that was more just putting more people on the grounds at the border, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, say that one more time?
So with the bipartisan border bill that the Democrats or Kamala Harris and Joe Biden implemented, that obviously the Republicans voted down on, wasn't that to put more boots on the ground, like at the border, like agents?
It would increase the amount of security. It would also increase the how quick the asylum process would go and the legal process. So it
Okay.
had compromised in the bill. It would increase security, but then also make the legal process go quicker.
Okay.
Increase the amount of
So I
judges and
so I guess I agree with that, but I don't think that would have been enough. I think that I think
sure,
that it
but
is,
like it's better than what it would have been otherwise, and it would have addressed
and like I
things
said,
to
I
enough of an
don't.
extent where it would have secured the border in terms of security, and it would have made the legal process go quicker. Now we could have made the legal process go even quicker than that, and we should keep trying to do so. But this is a necessary first step.
Right, but do you also agree that it is a good thing that, and I'm not in favor of everything that ICE is doing, like I don't think that they're handling it very well, but I do agree with the fact that they're trying to get out, criminals. Criminals, are you okay with that? Like, do you support that?
Wait? Clarify that one time. Do I support
Do you
criminals?
support no, and not that you. I'm not saying do you support criminals. I'm saying do you support ICE removing criminals from our streets?
Oh, okay. Any people who have committed violent or serious offenses, I support there being a process to remove. Now, I don't believe ICE should exist in the manner in which it does. I believe in the abolition of ICE because I think that border enforcement should be structured in a manner in which it can't be just changed by the executive branch so easily. I think it should have to be changed by legislation and oversaw by the judicial in order to ensure more checks and balances surrounding that in the first place. But I do believe that they should go after those that have committed violent and serious offenses to a greater extent, right? And actually, or sorry, not greater extent. They should be going after those individuals and deporting those. But I don't want to deport those that haven't committed violent or serious offenses.
So I will say that Obama, under the Obama administration, they did actually deport quite a bit of people.
Sure.
Um, and Joe Biden unfortunately didn't, not as much as Obama.
Biden did
Um,
deport people. It's just, yeah, not as much as Obama because Obama had 8 years.
okay, that's fair. I mean, that is definitely a good point. But if you look at the statistics and numbers, it wasn't nearly anywhere close to what Obama did in the first term of his presidency, of Obama's presidency.
So okay, let's just do a comparison here. So Obama's presidency, we really saw that there was a greater portion of individuals that were going after that have committed violent or serious offenses. They were using the legal process more in terms of deporting people. They still did violate the process, but they, to a greater extent than the Trump administration, upheld due process rights. Many were just turned away at the border, which has also happened under Biden as well. So there's a
Yeah.
few things to address there, and then also with the amount of increase of people that were coming under the Biden administration, that's not necessarily because of Biden's policies. That's because of the fact that there were supply chain issues around the entire world, which caused inflation, which then led to people coming here because of economic insecurity that existed all around the world.
Okay.
Because they saw this as a
So why do
preferable
you
alternative.
so why do you think that Biden ended catch and release?
Why do I think Biden? So by catch and release, what are you referencing? Are you referencing specifically with the process for asylum? Because that's a legal process for immigration.
Yeah, so like for example, like they would catch somebody that came over in the country, and then they would just release them.
Yeah, if they've been legally entering the country through the asylum process.
Right. So everybody that didn't enter the country legally in the asylum process, do you think that they should be deported?
The asylum process is a legal process. So
Yeah, I
no,
think
people who are going through a
no,
legal
no, I
process
think
should not be deported.
no, I think what the biggest difference is between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is that the Democrat Party would rather have like amnesty.
I mean, I maybe there are more Democrats within the party that would support that, but I just it's not prevalent enough for us to get to that point yet. I would wish, like that's
Yeah,
what
and
I support.
I'm not saying that that for that what's the word? Immigrants are a bad thing. I am saying that I think it should be done the right way and legally in the right way.
Yeah, but like, how do we incentivize people to go through the legal process to a greater extent? Well, we need to make the legal process go quicker.
We should make it go quicker. Absolutely, I'm
Yeah, but
totally in favor of
Trump
that.
is not fighting for that. Republicans are not fighting for that.
Yeah, and that's a problem. But I'm just saying that the Democrats didn't either, though. They weren't fighting for it to go faster. And if they were, when was that?
The Democrats have been fighting. The bipartisan border bill was one example.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is that my question for you is that if that bipartisan border bill was in 2023, why didn't they do it in 2022 or 2021?
Well, it takes time. I told you already, like to get people on the Republican and Democratic side to come work together in terms of legislation in Congress relating to this, because we haven't had legislation like this in 30 years, dude. This
I
is
know. Okay, so
unprecedented levels of negotiation in
take?
Congress, right?
What
So
is
I
it going
just
to take for both sides of the aisle to actually start getting along and starting actually to
Trump
pass
not
it?
being in office, because you understand that he quite literally is causing more division within our country, which is not allowing for them to work together as much. There was more policy passed under Biden's administration. What prevented the bipartisan border bill from passing? Well, Trump. So quite literally, what can we do to address people not passing things in Congress? Well, we can probably hold the president accountable, because then it would ensure that we can actually like address these things in the first place and pass policy, because he's preventing the passing of policy.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and you're gonna probably agree with this, and I'm sure of it, is that Trump has not came out with a actual um, like legislation when it comes to the border. However, he has implemented like executive orders, like executive, to kind of.
Yeah, which one are short term, and two,
Well, why
um,
didn't Biden do that
well, Biden did end up doing at the end, because it gets rid of the incentive
at
for
the
people to
end?
then
That's what
work
I'm
together in
saying. Though.
Congress to legislate.
You gotta agree, though. Why is everything at the end?
Legislation is long term, executive is short term, especially because executive is again something that what's it called? Something that can be overwritten by the next administration and also by the Supreme Court, because it can be deemed to be unconstitutional. So you have
So
to
do you think
understand that Biden was trying to have long-term address for this, and he was prioritizing long-term addressing it over literally looking good to the general public.
So do you think the border crossings are down under Trump? I hope you
Yes,
say
of course
yes.
I can acknowledge that,
Okay.
but I think that's because he's made situations in the country less desirable to go to. Why is tourism gone down as well?
But why is our GDP growth higher?
GDP growth is actually lower since Trump got in office
Wow.
compared to the end of Biden's administration.
Really?
Yes.
I'll have to look into that one because I thought our GDP growth was actually going up.
Nope, it's lower.
Okay. Well, you probably know more than I do, so. Well, anyway, man, I'll let you go. Hey, I will say this much: I respect your grind on here, man. I've been watching you for a couple years now, so we may be on the opposite aisle, but I will say you're very respectful when you want to be.
Okay. For sure.
So
Before you leave, is there anything
yeah,
Trump could do that would get you to stop supporting him?
shit. I mean, there's probably a lot of things. Honestly, it's not even that I support him. I don't support Trump. I don't support Trump
Well,
as a
let me clarify
person.
my notion of support is that you'd vote for him over Harris if the election were held
I'm not
today,
lazy,
and
by
you
the
also
way.
have the
People
choice to not vote. You can if you want.
Well, I'm not going to not vote because I feel like the people that don't vote don't have should really be quiet about what's going on in the country because they didn't do anything to fix it. Like if you just complain all day long but you didn't vote, you have no reason to talk because you didn't vote against what's going
Okay.
on.
Okay. So you
I
would
think.
vote for Trump. So then you do support
Well,
him.
I don't like Trump as a person, but I would have to vote for Trump because I did not agree with Kamala Harris.
Okay. But like,
Don't
what's
think
so
she's a
bad
bad
about
person.
Kamala
I
Harris
just
that gets
don't
you to
agree with her.
wait? Actually, so again, let me ask this question: is there anything Trump could do that would get you to stop supporting him? Then.
I mean, he's done some really bad stuff, man. I mean, obviously that should be enough to not support him, but it's just it boils down to the country. And if we were voting on person, if we were voting just solely on person, I would have voted Kamala Harris. Like personality, like
So is there
moral,
anything he could
moral.
do that would get you to stop supporting him? No.
Shoot, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's done, like I said, he's done some bad stuff. I didn't vote for him for those things, though.
Okay, but like,
Obviously,
is there anything he could do that would get you to stop supporting him? Like, do you have any examples?
man, I don't know. Like, He's probably done it. I mean, I don't know, dude.
If he's probably done it, then you probably don't
I
support
don't
him
know
anymore,
because I
right?
don't know if he's really done it. That's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure he
Well, then
probably
name something that would
has
get you to stop supporting him in a genuine sense. Like, if you heard me.
probably doing stuff with like children.
Okay, so if I told you that he has prevented the release of the Epstein files, has actively speaking said that it was a hoax, right, and said that anyone who wants him to release it uh, never support him in the first place, and then called Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor, Marjorie Trader Greene, because she wanted the release of the files. And then also he's credibly accused by a minor in the files. They got a settlement with the Epstein estate. And if we believe the accusations of victims who got settlements with the Epstein estate about their accusations against Epstein relating to sexual abuse or trafficking, then that would also implicate Trump because they also accuse Jane Doe 4 accused Epstein of trafficking her to Trump.
Yeah, but again, I didn't vote for Trump because I think he's a morally wonderful saint. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, but you said if he did these things, you would stop supporting him. Do you see that as enough evidence to
Yeah,
then believe
I
he did
stop
these things?
supporting him, but I have to support the policy.
You're covering your mic again. I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't support him. I can say that I don't support Trump as a person.
And the notion that I brought up, like if you would rather vote for Kamala Harris, Trump, or not vote.
I mean, I don't think it's the right thing to not vote. You know,
So what would you do?
I'd have to really go back and look at it, you know, like and see exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we don't know for a fact that he's actually done any of those things. So
I think that we have really good reason to believe that, and I just gave you the
if he,
argument
I'll
for
tell
it.
you what,
If you'd like to dispute the argument in any
if he
meaningful way,
if he gets charged in anything Epstein related, I would stop supporting him.
you understand that
Fair
just he hasn't been charged, one because he's president, and two because he's literally controlling the active attorney general.
Okay, well, he was also charged with some things as well before he won the presidency, and a lot of it got dropped.
Well, he was convicted of 34 felonies. He was held civilly liable of sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll.
Yeah, but I don't think that was a fair trial.
Okay, what about that was unfair? So even when there's a
What was it
criminal
not? How
conviction,
was
you
it
think
not
it's an
fair?
unfair trial?
It was held in New York City. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's where he lived, and also that doesn't mean it's not
Yeah,
a fair trial. His lawyers, what's it called, were a part of the jury selection process.
yeah, but okay, yeah. You don't think that was? There's no way that was a fair trial.
Okay,
There's
and
reasons. There's
what makes
also
you think that it
reasons
was
why things
unfair?
are moved. There's also reasons why court cases are moved to other jurisdictions and other parts of the state for that reason alone.
Yeah, but what
Why
makes you
they
think
held
it's
it in New
unfair
York
though?
City? Because there was a biased judge in that.
Okay, what was their name?
I don't know. I don't remember his name. I'd have to look it up, but I know his name. That was that one guy, like the Cuban descent guy. I don't know his name. I really don't know his name, dude. But he was
So how do you know that he's corrupt if you don't even
because
know
I
who he
read up
is?
on it. I just don't remember everybody's name
No,
or by
it's just that
heart.
Trump claimed he was corrupt. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's not good enough reason to believe that he actually is corrupt, right?
Hmm.
Don't you need evidence for those things?
Yeah, and people are saying in the comments, P3DO defender. Well, where is the actual charge of him doing that?
Again, he doesn't need to be charged of doing that for us to believe that he's done it.
Okay, where's the proof though?
I just told you. Do you believe the victims of Epstein that got settlements with the Epstein estate about their accusations against Epstein relating to trafficking and sexual abuse?
That I believe we should trust people that make accusations. Also, I'll always trust the accuser. However, they have to prove it.
So I'm asking,
Innocence until proven guilty, right?
Yeah, we're explicitly talking about the scenario with Epstein, my guy. Like I feel like that's a crazy thing to say in response to me asking if you believe the victims of Epstein who got settlements with the Epstein estate about their allegations against Epstein relating to his behavior with trafficking and sexual abuse. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The average person is gonna be like, yes, I obviously believe that. Yeah, right?
Sure, but how does that have anything to do with Trump though?
Okay,
Sure,
well, watch
Epstein.
this. Jane Doe 4, one of the people who got settlements with the Epstein estate, right, also accused Donald Trump, right, because right they accused Epstein of trafficking her to Trump. So if we believe that their accusations are credible against Epstein relating to his behavior about trafficking, this is one of those types of accusations, and it implicates
Oh
Trump.
my gosh. I love your comment section. It's actually pretty funny. People are saying I'm protecting Epstein. Where do you get that? Like, how delusional are people?
I mean,
Really?
you're saying you don't believe the people who are victims of Epstein who got settlements with
No,
the
I
Epstein
wouldn't say
estate
that. I
about their
wouldn't say that.
accusations against
I
Epstein
am not
based upon his
saying that.
conduct related to trafficking. So
That's not what I'm saying.
you're covering your mic again.
Oh my gosh, I am not. My hand is not even on my phone. I am not saying any of that, Parker. I'm actually saying that what you're saying there did not mention Trump anywhere in that sentence.
Okay, I just told you it did mention Trump because this, again, Jane Doe 4 accused Epstein of trafficking her to Trump, which is an accusation against Epstein about his behavior relating to trafficking, which we already said we believe from victims who got settlements with the Epstein estate, right? And then it implicates Trump because who she was trafficked to by Epstein was Trump.
Right. Well, then let's see what happens in court then.
Okay, so but you didn't accept the determinations in court. You didn't accept the felonies. You didn't accept the civil case of sexual abuse. You thought both of them were bullshit simply because they're against Trump and because they were in
They
New
can
York.
still have they can still have this stuff come out in court, and we'll see what happens. Doesn't mean he's going to be charged, but we can see what happens. Let the evidence come out and see what happens. I'm in favor of the Epstein files released.
Yeah, but Donald Trump isn't. And Donald Trump
Yeah,
said
that's
if
a
you
problem.
want the Epstein files to be released, you never supported him in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a problem. I think they should be released.
Yeah, why do you support a guy that doesn't want you to support him, given that you said you wanted them to be released?
I don't know. I think he's more. I think he's trying to protect other people that's are in there. Yeah, like his buddy Bill Clinton.
Wait, so he's more concerned about protecting PDFs than their victims?
He must be.
Yeah, and so why do you still support him,
What's
given that
that?
you believe that?
Hey, I don't support him for that.
So, like, you wouldn't vote for him?
Mm, it's a tough one.
I don't think it's very tough. I think it's very obvious. And if you can't draw a
We're
line
not voting
now,
for people with no
when will you
morals.
ever be able to draw a line?
Mm,
Real question that you need to be able to answer yourself. That's why I still have these conversations. Is people who genuinely still support him, you need to ask yourself the question, how can I still support him even though these things are true about him, right, based upon arguments that I accept to be true? Like, literally, like you should think through that thought process.
right, but again, I wouldn't vote for somebody on the other side that uses people that are in prison for cheap labor for the state of California. I wouldn't vote for that either. You know, and take advantage of people like that and put people in prison for minor crimes.
Okay.
So,
So
I'm
one,
not saying that that's worse, but you know,
I
there's
just
wrong
want to
on
let you
both
know Trump
sides.
does that through the context of our federal systems, and he supports that.
Mm,
So that's not something that he disagrees with. Two, if you want to reference this, I don't think that there's anything that specifically identifies that she wanted to use people for prison labor, like explicitly wanted to keep them in that position for longer. It was more that there were issues with actually getting people out of the jails because they were trying to limit how many people were in them because of claims of overcrowding, right? And it takes time to figure out who you're going to get rid of because you don't just want to let anyone out on the street who's
yeah,
already still a criminal, you know? Thank you for the galaxy, by
right.
the way. Thank you. So I think you're
I'll tell
misrepresenting
you
that a little
what.
bit. And then
Yeah,
also,
I
you said
mean,
for minor offenses, Trump still doesn't believe in the federal legalization of M drug.
yeah,
So, like, talking about people still being in prison because of this, Kamala Harris wants federal legalization, has been advocating for that for over a decade.
yeah, I get it, but I think that's more of a state issue. The M drug. It's on our ballots. You know, if the people of the state want the M drug to be passed, then they would vote for it. Just like in my state, when it's pretty much on our ballots, and you know, it always gets voted no. So I don't think the federal government should force states to allow people to have the M drug. I mean, I'm
Oh,
against. I mean,
so
I'm
so you're
for it
totally
actually.
okay with people being in prison because of it?
No, I don't think people should be in prison for it.
Okay, so then, but you're okay with the states having laws that put people in prison for it?
I think
And
it
by
should
the
be
way,
a
it's
very
currently right now still federally illegal. So
no. I mean, if you have like obviously if you have an intent to sell and stuff, and like like in a lot of large quantity, obviously. But like if you just have a little bit on you, obviously
what?
not. Yeah.
Wait. Intent to. Why would that be an issue?
Do you just think someone should just have freaking a shit ton of marijuana or M on him?
Well, I gotta go. Can't say that. TikTok TOS. But yeah, they should absolutely be able to have a lot on them. Hell, I don't give a shit. It's literally something that should be legal. Okay, if alcohol's legal, it absolutely should be legal. The fuck? The fact that we live in a society where it's not legal federally is fucking nuts.